Premier League Game Week 24 predictions. January is officially over. We are now comfortably into this 2025 new year. And I'll be real, it's the 24th game week of the Premier League. I do not know where time is going, but here we are. Anyway, last week, in terms of my predictions, I didn't do too bad, but I wasn't very happy. I got 5 out of 10 results correct. I got 1 correct score. I predicted a draw in the Villa and West Ham game, which most people were saying Villa would win, and I got that correct. So it wasn't the worst, but in comparison to previous weeks of my predictions, I was hoping for better. Anyway, let's rectify that this week. We have some really big games to look forward to, including high-flying Bournemouth against my team, top of the table, Liverpool. So let's get straight into these Premier League predictions. First up, on Saturday at 12:30, we have Nottingham Forest taking on Brighton at the City Ground. Both of these teams coming off poor losses last time out. A damaging 5-0 loss for Forest at the Vitality against Bournemouth, and a really disappointing 1-0 loss at home for Brighton at the Amex against David Moyes' Everton. I suppose the question now, especially in terms of Forest, after such a bad defeat, will you finally see them slide? Will you finally see a bad run of form? And I think they're a good side. They certainly deserve to be where they are. Will they sustain that? I'm not sure for the entirety of the season. But Brighton, on the other hand, are that kind of team. I always say it. The teams that they should beat, they don't play well against. But these games, the games where they're maybe not expected to win, that's when you see the best of Brighton. And they have the players to exploit you, especially when they are on song. Anyway, I'm going to say Forest drop points in this game again. I think Brighton will get something. I would nearly go for a Brighton win. I hope I'm not being disrespectful to Forest fans in saying that. It's just Brighton, their one-off performances can be so good, and this is the kind of game where you see a really good Brighton performance. I'm going to sit on the fence. Forest 1, Brighton 1. We have Everton hosting Leicester at Goodison Park. Everton, as I previously mentioned, a massive win away to Brighton last time out, and Leicester, a huge win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Spurs, ending a losing streak of 7, I think, in the Premier League. It's no surprise, since David Moyes came to Everton, they have looked better, and we are seeing that certainly in their results and their performances. I mean, watching most of the highlights of that Brighton and Everton game, Everton defended again valiantly in that game, especially after taking the lead. But I think that Leicester win last weekend was a flash in the pan. I think Spurs are so beatable right now, defensively as well. They're just there to be got at. And I'm not saying Ruud van Nistelrooy is doing a terrible job at Leicester, but I think Everton, we will see them be stronger at home under David Moyes, and I do see them getting the win here. I am going to say Everton 1, Leicester 0. We have Ipswich hosting Southampton. Ipswich now coming off, obviously, a 4-1 loss to Liverpool last time out at Anfield, a 6-0 loss then previous to that at home against Manchester City. And Southampton coming off a 3-1 loss at home to Newcastle, albeit taking the lead. This is a big game. This is a big game for both teams. I mean, look, you probably say at this stage Southampton are as good as gone, but for them to have even the slightest sliver of hope, they need to win this game. This is a true 6-pointer, second bottom versus bottom in the league. Now, coming up against Ipswich last weekend, as a Liverpool fan, they didn't offer much going forward. I mean, Liverpool were at half pace, but you can't really judge them off that. Watching Ipswich largely this season, they are certainly a better team, I would say, than Southampton. They're certainly much better coached. They will have chances in this game. And I would say they are slightly favourites, but then again, in a couple of one-off games this season, Southampton have looked okay. This is a tough one because I think Ipswich have actually had a couple of half-decent results at home. I would feel more likely to go for them in this, but I am going to go for another draw and say Ipswich 2, Southampton 2. Newcastle hosting Fulham at St. James's. Newcastle got back to winning ways last time out against Southampton at St. Mary's. Fulham, I must say, I was very disappointed with watching them last Sunday against Manchester United. I mean, look, United, I thought, defended okay, but Fulham show nothing in that game. And I have watched Fulham a decent few times this season, and they have looked really good, especially going forward. Some really, really good football. And certain teams in the league, like Brighton in around kind of mid-table area, on their day, they can turn you over. And I was expecting, actually, I think most people were. I think Fulham were the favourites to beat Manchester United last weekend. And even when United were offering nothing up front, Fulham were doing the same the other end. So Fulham need to bounce back in this game. And I do expect Fulham will be better. Sometimes they are better on the road. They put in a really good performance on the road against Liverpool at Anfield earlier on this season, albeit Liverpool down to 10 men for most of the game. And look, for Newcastle, their home record has been very strong. Their form over the last while has been very good, bar obviously that result against Bournemouth. Isak continues to fly, another 2 goals against Southampton. I hate to say it, but I'm feeling another draw here. I promise there won't be too many from here to the end of the video, but I'm feeling another draw. I'm going to say Newcastle 2, Fulham 2. And then finally, arguably the biggest game of the weekend. I know we have Arsenal and Man City as well, but I think it depends what colours you're wearing. This is a huge game. Bournemouth versus Liverpool. Bournemouth are absolutely flying. What a result last weekend against Nottingham Forest. Obviously the previous week against Newcastle. They continue to impress. The likes of Justin Kluivert, Semenyo. I mean, going forward, they look as good as any team in the league right now. And I've always said it. I've always said how good this Bournemouth team is. And I've always said how good Iraola is. And I think more and more people are noticing that. And I genuinely am very, very happy for that, because I only have respect for Bournemouth and I like Bournemouth. As for ourselves, good, solid 4-1 victory against Ipswich last weekend. Professional performance, exactly what we needed. We didn't need to get out of third gear the entire game. And this is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough. And there's going to be goals in this. I think the fact that Liverpool got a full rest during the week from the Champions League and we didn't need to push ourselves last weekend is big. We're going to be firing here and we're going to be ready to go. And the way Bournemouth plays certainly suits us. Bournemouth will take us on. And our defence will have to be good, obviously. But Liverpool are not good largely up against low blocks and can struggle up against low blocks, and Bournemouth do not bring that. I'm going to say Liverpool get a huge win here. Bournemouth 2, Liverpool 3. Then finally on Saturday at 5:30 we have Wolves. Villa obviously last weekend surrendering a goal lead at Villa Park against West Ham, drawing 1-1. And Wolves, unexpectedly, I would say, bringing Arsenal quite close at Molineux. I mean, I must say, I didn't watch any of the game, but I thought it would be quite a routine win for Arsenal. Obviously, all the controversy about the red card. The red card did it changed it. I mean, it made it a much closer game. I'm not sure if Wolves had any big chances in it or not. I'm not sure if Arsenal deserved to win. I imagine they probably did, looking at some of the statistics. But look, they didn't disgrace themselves at all. Anyway, Wolves. I do fear for them, though. I do fear for them. Since the new manager came in, they had a couple of good performances. They had a couple of half-decent results. They do have good players there. But since, I don't know, the second or third game of Pereira being in there, it has kind of stagnated a bit now. And I watched them over the last couple of weeks, and they look a bit similar as to what they did earlier on in the season. I think Villa win this. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, it's a derby as well. So it's going to be a huge game for both teams. It would be a huge game for Wolves to get a win in. But I think Villa will have too much. Wolves 1, Aston Villa 3. On to Sunday's games at 2 o'clock. We have Brentford taking on Spurs. Can it get any worse for Spurs? I really don't think it can. I mean, I think Spurs are Daniel Levy is just keeping Ange in the job purely because of the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. Obviously, they won the first leg. But Spurs are absolutely at sea. Yes, they've had their problems with injuries, but Ange is not a good manager. He's just not. And he's completely lost his team. And losing at home to a team on a losing streak of 7 is incredibly damning. I've said it for a while now, but I certainly do not believe I certainly believe that we will not see Ange Postecoglou in a Premier League job in a few weeks. As for Brentford, great win last time out away to Crystal Palace. I did not see that coming. Palace have been better lately, and defensively they have looked a lot more solid. So that was a fantastic win, especially for a team like Brentford, who have been quite poor on the road this season. And I think the last few games since I've started these prediction videos, I think I've maybe predicted Spurs to win once. Brentford are winning this game. They just are, and Brentford are actually good at home as well. So, I can't say too much more. Brentford 2, Spurs 1. Also at 2 o'clock on Sunday, we have United hosting Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. Crystal Palace, as I mentioned, with a shock defeat at home last week to Brentford. United, I would say, with certainly a shock away win to Fulham, albeit via a very lucky deflected goal and one of the worst games I've seen in quite a long time. These are the kind of games United struggle in, games that you expect United to win, and Palace often perform against the bigger sides. Look, Selhurst Park can be a tough place to go to. If this was at Selhurst Park, I think I would be going for a Palace win. But since it's at Old Trafford, I still think Palace will get something. I'm going to go for a draw, even though I honestly could see a Palace win. I can't lie. United 1, Palace 1. Then we have the other big one of the weekend. Arsenal up against Manchester City at the Emirates. How is this going to go? Arsenal need to win. It's as simple as that. If Arsenal don't win, then I don't see how they're even sustainable in this title race for the rest of the season. And they're at home. If this was away, then you'd kind of be saying, obviously, they got a draw there earlier on in the season. Potentially, that's not a bad result. Away at the Etihad is never a bad result. But Arsenal have to win this game. And anything else than a win is just not acceptable for them. And City really have nothing to lose. They have certainly been better as of late. They were obviously a goal down during the week against Club Brugge, and they ended up coming back, which would be a big morale boost. They had a good win against Chelsea last weekend, albeit they were lucky. First half, Chelsea really should have stuck chances away to put themselves 2, if not 3 up. This is going to be a game, I think, of a few goals. Arsenal, with obviously the frontline problem, is a huge, huge issue in games like this, because Haaland gets chances, City gets chances, they're going to score, and Arsenal obviously need to answer back. I think a draw is written all over this. Arsenal 2, City 2. And finally on Monday, we have Chelsea taking on West Ham at Stamford Bridge at 8 o'clock. West Ham continue to get decent results, continue to put in decent performances since Graham Potter came in. Chelsea again looked a little bit lethargic and certainly out of ideas in the second half. Their goalkeeping and defensive problems really showing against Manchester City last time out. I'm going to be real. I think West Ham gets something from this game. I do. And I think Chelsea continue to slide down the league. There's just too many overlying issues there that, I don't know, maybe you could say should have been somewhat addressed in January, but it could cost them. It could cost them a Champions League place this season. West Ham I've been impressed with since Graham Potter has came in. They have the players, they have good players, they have the players to test any side on their day. And I think this is going to be a shock. I am actually going to say West Ham win this game. Chelsea 1, West Ham 2. Anyway, that is my predictions for Game Week 24 of the Premier League. Let me know your predictions in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree with mine. I absolutely love to hear from you, as always. We'll see how we get on this week. Hopefully better than last week. Please God, Liverpool Liverpool put in a huge performance and get a huge victory against what would now be a very good Bournemouth side. And yeah, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the Premier League, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.